Do you keep blaming yourself for not being disciplined enough, but never question your method? Are you hoping to become fluent by relying on guilt and self-shaming? Do you think consistency is about forcing yourself or removing friction? Hey there, I'm Vitek, I'm 29 years old, and I come from Poland. And I'm not sure why I mention my age every time. Should I stop doing it? I don't know. I've been learning foreign languages since I can remember, and I now speak 6 of them. And I even passed C2 exams in English and German in the past. As you can probably sense from the questions from the opening of this video, I'm not a big fan of relying on discipline alone in language learning. Unless you're David Goggins, of course. And then I don't know why you'd be watching this video.
It never gets any easier. You gotta get harder.
My key takeaway is that most people shouldn't have to rely on discipline. Let me define this term quickly. I think discipline comes into play when you don't feel like doing the thing, but you convince yourself that you must do it, and so you do it, and it feels like a dread while you're at it. This would make it different from motivation. When you're motivated, you feel like doing the thing, and you don't dread it while you're at it. As I always say, personally, I have relatively high intrinsic motivation to learn languages, but neither discipline nor motivation are my main driver, even if I'm more motivated than you might be. Most of the time when I study, or learn without studying, it's because I have a habit or routine in place that I default to. Ali Abdaal is a productivity YouTuber that I follow, and I watch every single video that he uploads. That's one of many ways I stay in touch with English. And the author of a book about the role of fun in productivity. He says that discipline is useful to overcome that natural initial bump of whatever it is that you're pursuing. He also says about himself that he's kind of soft, which I would absolutely also ascribe to myself, and that discipline is not a fuel that should propel the average Joe in the long run, which I also agree with. Generally, if you must use discipline to keep going, then most likely something about your learning process needs to change. Just trying harder is rarely ever the right solution. Also, you're learning the language for fun, hopefully, or at least for some sort of benefit. So don't let it be cancelled out by the fact that you're miserable every time you have to study. If you're learning one language, like most people, then there are almost certainly ways to design your learning in a way that rarely ever requires you to stay disciplined. So how can you avoid over-relying on discipline? And when is it okay to use it? So the learning habit needs to be built first, right? When you're starting from scratch, you might have this initial spark of motivation that many people experience, and then you can use it to work on your habits the first few times. But sometimes you might not be as motivated. In that case, you're all good to use discipline to get going. Just remember, habits need to start very small. Before you increase your study time from 10 to 30 minutes, you first need to make sure that the 10-minute practice already sticks. If you do this right, your study sessions will become part of your routine, and most of the time you will have to rely neither on motivation nor on discipline. When you finish one resource, say you complete all Babbel courses in your target language, you might have to switch to another learning method that's different in nature, like for instance a podcast for intermediate learners. You might then have to use some discipline again if you're unlucky enough to not have motivation to build up the new habit. Or you might have to use some willpower to consider booking your first package of conversation classes on italki. In any case, it's normal when these switches between habits and routines require some dose of willpower initially. When you have to resort to discipline too often, however, then you're probably struggling to make language learning fun for yourself. Grammar exercises, vocabulary lists, and dull flashcards are the usual suspects. Are you using any of them during your study sessions? Or, God forbid, all of them? Life is already hard enough. Why make it harder? I made a video about fun in language learning. You can watch it next if you need some food for thought. Another thing that you can do parallel to optimizing your language learning process for sustainability is to find an accountability buddy. If you find someone that is also trying to learn a language, it can be the same language, but it doesn't have to be. It can be the same level, but it doesn't have to be. Then you may hold each other accountable for the next action. You can even do that with someone who is working on a goal other than language learning, or someone who just unilaterally holds you accountable. Again, I don't need this in language learning, but I do need it in other areas of my life. My wife holds me accountable for regularly uploading videos to this channel, and she's great at it. She asks smart questions when I get stuck, and by answering them, I can figure out how to optimize the process to require less discipline from me. And crucially, she gives me that extra push when there is no way around it. I'm in that initial phase after all, and I strongly suggest you try it out too. But if none of this works for you after continuous efforts, then I would ask you a brutally honest, less popular question. Do you actually want to learn this language? Did you pick it up because you truly want it? Or did it just seem cool? I assure you that learning languages is not the only thing you can do in life. It's completely fine if you pursue other hobbies instead. But I sort of wouldn't want to be the person who made you give up on your language learning. That's not what I'm here for. In fact, I'm actually trying to do the exact opposite. I believe that there must be ways to make you persevere without having to resort to discipline every single day. So before you give up for good, drop me an email and let me know what you struggle with. You can do that by subscribing to my newsletter through the link in the description and by hitting reply on the welcome email. I'll make sure to answer personally and prevent you from quitting. Otherwise, go watch this video next to see my exact note-taking system in language learning that I use to smash it every single day, not every single, but regularly. Go give it a watch. It's right here. It's free.